Hi everyone. I have read your discussion board posts as well as your writing assignment, and I've posted feedback in the rubrics that are associated with those assignments within the Blackboard site. Please take the time to go in, open up the rubrics, and read the feedback that's given. You'll have feedback in a summary box, but make sure you open up the rubric and read the specific feedback that's provided. It is my expectation that any feedback that I provide to you is applied to your next assignment. So it's so important that you go back in and read that feedback. If I notice that I've provided you feedback and you're failing to integrate it into a change in future assignments, we're probably going to need to have a conversation about that. I will also let you know that I will not continue to correct and give feedback when it's not being integrated into change. I'll just refer you to previous feedback and have you go back into other assignments and look for the feedback that was provided. The first assignment in any course, I think, can be a little stressful. You don't necessarily know how your professor is going to grade things. For me, from my perspective, I don't always know how students are going to receive an assignment and read those instructions and what their interpretation is going to be. So for me, the first assignment is really trying to figure out where the two sides of the class meet. So going through your work, content-wise, I think the discussion board and the writing exercise were fairly well handled. The crux of the issue really is having you understand those key concepts and understanding the value they have for a nurse educator. Your classmate, Samantha, I think did a great job in providing kind of a summary, especially in the discussion board, about the value of assessment. Samantha wrote that nurse educators are commissioned to construct material that assesses the student's ability to apply the knowledge they are learning accurately. In order to do this, validity, reliability, and practicality must be understood. I think Samantha did such a great job kind of capstoning the concepts that you were asked to look at in both of these assignments. When you think about the responsibility for a nurse educator to design a test, to design an assessment or an evaluation, it's complex. And as you move through this course, you're going to learn that to do it well requires time and effort and thoughtfulness. And even when an educator puts all those things into developing these tools, sometimes we fall short. Sometimes what we think the student will perceive in an assignment isn't what they perceive at all. So I do think we have to look at how valid is what we're doing. Are we being reliable? And I love the fact that Samantha put in practicality. I'm somewhat amused being in the world of academia that every time something new and shiny comes out, a new strategy or a new method, everyone wants to try it. Sometimes my colleagues don't always think about, is it practical to use this strategy in this teaching environment, with this student group, with this population. So just because something comes out and it's interesting doesn't mean that we should apply it to all of our classes. So I like the fact that the practicality was mentioned here. I think, again, from a content standpoint, you guys did a great job. The primary concern I have, and this is with the discussion boards as well as your written assignments, is the lack of rigor with APA. And I want to take a few minutes just to capstone some APA concerns, just to make sure you understand the expectation. APA is not just citing a source and doing a reference list. Your APA manual actually helps you develop professional writing syntax, and that just means that you're using professional structure, wording, sentence development to clearly and concisely express your ideas. So keep in mind that if you do your in-text citations and your references, that's a component, and it's actually a pretty minor component of APA. That's basically making sure that you're not plagiarizing. That does not accurately address the professional structure and the communication of your ideas in a scholarly way that APA sets up. So, that being said, in all future papers with your written work, you are expected to use level headings. It is not enough just to bang out your ideas and put them in paragraph form. You need to organize them and develop a system of using level headings. The requirement that you use scholarly sources is a minimum requirement is that you cite a textbook or a scholarly source. I sometimes feel like students put one in there and feel like they've checked the box and say, okay, well, I've supported what I've said. Scholarly writing is going above the provided resources, looking into literature, looking at other resources to further supplement your work. So if your minimum standard is, I'll use my textbook to verify and to validate what I've said, that's meeting the expectation. That's kind of the middle of the road, the C. That's not exceeding expectations. So if your goal is to get an A in the course, you're going to want to take additional effort to find additional outside sources to support what your thoughts and your ideas are. It is so important to read the rubric and understand the expectations in the rubric for your assignments. I do want you to know that when it comes to discussion boards, I know that when you're copying and pasting from a Word document into a discussion board, that things get wonky, that the spacing gets weird and the line spacing especially gets odd. It is important that if you're going to choose to copy and paste, that you clean up as much of the line spacing just so when I open it, it's in paragraph form versus hieroglyphic. Sometimes it gets really weird. I worry less about level headings and spacing in a discussion board because, quite honestly, it should be between 500 and 750 words, not pages and pages of content, and it's less necessary to have level headings and the level of rigor in an APA format with a discussion board. While I want you to cite your sources and I want your references to look APA-esque, I'm really looking at the discussion content. But when it comes to a writing assignment, you got to put your APA hat on and start applying those formattings. The other thing I want to mention is the expectation for the use of biblical support. In your discussion board replies, there is an expectation according to the rubric that you provide a biblical support or a Christian worldview in your replies to your peers, which is an expectation. Not all of your assignments are going to have that as an expectation. I do want you to use it when it's appropriate. I want to remind you that when you do cite a biblical verse, that it is appropriate for you to use in-text citations and tell me the chapter of the Bible, the verse, and then the version that you're using. But the Bible does not belong in your reference list. If you use an online version of the Bible, still the Bible, it doesn't belong in your reference list. So I want you to be mindful of that. Using direct quotes in the body of any of your work. I suspect that this is the urge to cover all your bases and the earnest attempt to credit the source of these brilliant ideas. Crediting a source and making sure you're not plagiarizing is a solid plan. At the graduate level, at a 600 level course, you should be able to read what the author has said about a concept or a definition or an idea and synthesize it and reword it into your own meaning. You'll then do an in-text citation at the end of it because you're going to still be using the basic theme of their ideas, but you're going to put it into your own words. The other component of that is not only are you going to reword it and make it meaningful for your written work, but you're also going to synthesize the ideas that the author offers. And that's more than regurgitating or citing verbatim what somebody else says. That's undergraduate work. At this level, at a graduate level, we want to see you putting all the pieces and parts together and being able to read a paragraph or a chapter or a journal article and be able to say, this is what the author says in my own words, and this is why it matters to my practice, to my ideas, to my research, whatever that is. Folks, that's synthesis. And we want you to do more than report what you've read. We want you to synthesize what you've read. And that's a very distinct difference in a bachelor's level writing skill and a graduate level writing skill. So at this level, at a 600 level course, I want to see you progress towards synthesizing ideas, Minimizing or completely avoiding would be my preference of direct quotes. Sometimes you just can't say something better than the author. I get that. But that should be your zebras, not your horses, the things that you don't see so often. It should not be opening up a paragraph and everything being quoted. So I'm really reading somebody else's work, not really yours. I'm going through my notes, making sure I've covered everything. I think I've got it. Folks, I know that online learning can be stressful and that you can feel like you're out there in the middle of the abyss all by yourself. But know that you are not alone. I'm here. We're going to get through this course together. I know that you probably are coming out of session B and you're going into D, so the first week is a little wobbly. My hope is that as you read my feedback that you're going to integrate changes. If you read the feedback and you don't understand what I've said, I want you to be comfortable to send me an email privately and say, Dr. Hudgens, I've got no clue what this means. I am happy to have a conversation with you either over email or Skype, or we can text or whatever works for you to resolve your concerns. As you all are learning as nurse educators, it's not just important that somebody passes a test. It's important that your student learns through the journey, and that I think is an important component of graduate learning as well. So one of the ways you're going to learn is by using your resource, and I right now am a paid resource for you, so I want you to know that I'm here and I'm more than happy to help and provide clarity and support as you move forward. I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. I am around this week, so I'm not going anywhere, so I'm happy to respond to any emails or any questions. You guys take care.